And in between your index and middle finger, thumb over the top. Show it to the dog. Keep your thumb in front of it until they're kind of pushing into your hand. Whenever they're pushing, move your thumb out of the way. Yes. 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 In this video, we're going to build off of a simple engagement drill I showed you in the previous video by adding a bit of intensity to it. And by intensity, what I mean is getting the dog more eager and fired up, getting the dog to really want to interact with you. The more intensity you can get from your dog now, the easier it'll be to get and maintain their attention around heavier real-world distractions later on. Not only that, but the more intensity the dog has, or the more motivation the dog has to interact with you, the less pressure and the less punishment you'll have to use later on, as well as you go through the generalization and the proofing phase towards the end of this training process. So in other words, the more intensity and motivation the dog has to interact with you, the easier the training process will be for the both of you. So in this video, I'm going to show you one of my favorite ways to get more intensity out of a dog using a combination of food and play. Let's get started. So in order to do this drill, or in order to build up some intensity, at least the way I like to do it, you're going to have to know how to do a few things, and the dog is going to have to know how to do a few things ahead of time. So I figured we'd start from the very beginning and just walk you through it step by step and build into the full process or the full drill there. First thing you need to know how to do is hold the food. I know that might sound kind of silly to some of you, but there's two big reasons why you need to hold the food properly. One is that if you're getting the dog really fired up, which you should be through this drill, and you hold it like this, what's going to happen is you're going to get your fingers chomped. As the dog comes in to take the food, they're just going to chomp your fingers every time. The dog could have a lot of fun with that. I mean, they're not going to care as long as they get their food, but you're not. And you're quickly going to get frustrated and not want to do this anymore. So the first reason why we hold the food is so we don't get our fingers chomped. The second reason is timing. Let me first show you how to hold the food so it makes some sense. So how I want you guys to hold the food, put it in between your fingers like this, and you're going to put your thumb over the top. And what that does is whenever the dog comes in to bite the food, they can't get it while your thumb is over the top of it. You should be able to hold it in place. They won't be able to get that. You may get scraped a little bit through here, but it's not going to hurt nearly as bad as getting chomped on your fingers. But whenever you're ready for the dog to take the food, you just simply move your thumb out of the way and they can scoop it out of your hand that way. And because it's really easy to have your thumb on or off, basically denying access or giving access to the food, it's really easy to be accurate with your reinforcement timing. And whether you're doing reinforcement or punishment, one of the key aspects to either of those is that your timing has to be spot on, or as spot on as you possibly can. That's one of the beautiful things about a marker. And speaking of markers, we're going to develop a new marker with this drill as well. I'll go over that when we get there. Because the timing, and back to the timing point, the timing is what teaches the dog over time why it is they're getting reinforced. So either the timing of the delivery or the timing of the application of a punishment, or the timing of your marker is what communicates to the dog why they're getting reinforced, and that's how they can really tie a specific behavior to the reinforcement or the punishment or whatever. That was my long-winded way of saying that delivering the food this way, holding the food this way, helps us be more accurate in our timing. So now that you know that, you know how to hold the food, where I suggest or recommend you start is by simply getting the dog's attention. And you're going to hold the food just like I showed you, which just for review, the middle of your hand, or not in the middle of your hand, in between your index and middle finger, thumb over the top. Show it to the dog. Keep your thumb in front of it until they're kind of pushing into your hand. Whenever they're pushing, move your thumb out of the way. Same thing. There you go. Don't worry about a marker yet. Marker will come very soon. So there you go. Those are pretty good demos. She can't get the food. Wait till she's really pushing my hand. What she does, move my thumb out of the way, then she can have it. Do that with both hands. So do it with your left hand as well, so they don't develop a bias towards one hand, and neither do you, for that matter, because being able to do this with both hands is going to be very handy. See what I did there? That's totally on accident, by the way. So once you got the dog pushing into your hands a little bit, just not moving, just being out in front of you, we're going to add a little bit of movement, going pretty slow. So once again, load up your food, hold it the way I showed you, put it in front of the dog's face, and then all you're going to do is move them away. And as long as they keep a little bit of pressure into your hand, after a step or two, release the food to them. No word yet, no marker yet. Use your other hand. Switch up your hands. The next step is to add the marker. Now, a quick word on the marker thing. So we're adding a new marker. We're going to add a release marker. In the previous video, I showed you guys how to develop just a general continuation marker. And a continuation marker tells the dog to keep doing what they're doing and that you are going to bring the reward to them. A release marker communicates to the dog that they can stop doing whatever it is they're doing and come to you for the reward. This will evolve and develop more as we go along. Right now, it's going to be kind of hard to tell the difference between the two, but as we start creating behaviors, reinforcing behaviors, this will make a lot more sense. So just kind of trust me for a second and trust the process a little bit. But this is how we can get started on developing a release marker. So for me, my continuation marker is the word good. My release marker is the word yes. Obviously, they have to be different words. But whatever two words is completely up to you. So it's the same deal. I'm going to put the food in front of her face, move very slowly. As long as she's pushing into my hand, I'm going to say yes and release the food. Yes. 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 Very slow, steady movement right now. Try to move in a straight line as well. Yes. Move your hand in a straight line, I should say. Yes. Yes. Once you have that decently established, now you can start turning this into a little bit more play by increasing your movement. You're going to move around a lot more. Try to draw the dog into you through your movement. And whenever they get to you, offer them that hand, have them push into it. When they do, say your marker, your release marker word, give them the food. And this is where we start blending the food world and the play world together. We're essentially playing with food here. Yes. 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 Good girl. Yes. 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 There you go. So you can see, hopefully you can see how much more intensity there is, how much more playfulness there is with this. And it's that playfulness that brings out the intensity, that creates more motivation. And even for a dog like Leica, who is typically pretty chill, you can get them fairly fired up doing it this way instead of just delivering the food. Now, for some dogs, if they're super food motivated, you may be able to get away with just delivering the food to them, and they're going to be right there. They're going to be very intense just off the food because their food drive is so high. If that's the case, you may not need to do a whole lot of this. You may not even want to do a whole lot of this. So that's really dependent on the dog. I'm just more of the opinion that the more motivation, the more intensity you can get out of the dog, the better. There's a lot more things you can do with a dog for longer if they're more motivated, more interested in you than the environment. And this is just a good way to develop all that. So I've got the camera angled down a little bit more for you guys because I'm going to show you something a little extra on top of it, and that is tossing the food. Now, if you're working on a surface where the dog can very easily see the food and go to the food when you toss it, this can be a very helpful technique for developing this intensity that we're talking about here, their motivation. But it really only works if the dog can easily see the food. If you're in tall grass, you probably don't want to do this. Actually, I don't advise that you do this because you're going to toss it in the grass. It's going to take them forever to find it. And you're going to lose your flow. You're going to lose your groove. So if you're working on concrete like we are here, do the game like normal. Yes. You take the food, move away from them. Yes. And then at some point, show them the food and just toss it on the ground. Let them go chase it. When they come back to you, yes, mark them, give them that food again. Make a miss. Make a miss. Yes. There you go. Turn into a game. Just show that food toss one more time. Yes. Yes. Good girl. Good job. Yes. Good girl. Yes. Oh, good job. So just to bring it all together, I'm going to do the same thing we just did up here, but walk around the yard like we did in the previous video, just to show you how this works. From here on out, the idea, the concept is the exact same, where you're going to ignore the dog, wait for them to interact with you. Whenever they do, mark them, but with your release marker, and you're going to burst into that play thing we just did a little bit ago. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. Yes. Sometimes give them one piece of food, sometimes two pieces of food. Just run away from them. Good girl. Good job. Sometimes give them 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of food, and then shut it down. Go back to being normal. Ignore the dog. Wait for them to interact with you. When they do, yes, get them to play. Run away from them. Yes. 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 Good job. Yes. Where you go? Where you go? Over here. Good girl. Good job. Yes. Yes. Good girl. Good job. Yes. 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 Good girl. Good job. Yes. Good girl. Yes. Boy. Good boy. Yes. Good boy. So there you go, guys. Hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments. And good luck with all that. See y'all in the next one.